Hey guys, it's Katie with S&B, and today we're going to install our cold air intake on the 2022 and up Toyota Tundra. So let's get started. You're going to start by removing the engine cover from the vehicle, and you'll just pull up and then lift out. Next, you're going to loosen this bolt. Now you want to undo the clip securing the mass airflow sensor harness to the intake, and you'll just take something, push down, and then you should be able to lift it up. Disconnect the mass airflow sensor harness by pushing down on the tab and pulling out. Now with everything either disconnected or loose, you should be able to remove the stock intake from the vehicle. Now we're going to remove the intake tube that connects to the throttle body, so you're going to start by disconnecting this hose. Next, you're going to remove this bolt securing the bracket. Just be careful because it is easy to drop in the engine bay. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a hose clamp connecting this intake tube to the throttle body, and you're just going to loosen that enough to be able to remove that intake tube from the vehicle. Unclip this line from the intake tube, and then you can remove the intake tube from the vehicle. Next, you're going to remove this screw from the vehicle. Just make sure not to lose this one and set it aside because you're going to reuse it later. Now you can remove the bracket and the screw from the vehicle. Again, do not lose this one because you are going to reuse it later. Now you're going to install the S&B bracket using the screw that you just removed. After you have it installed, this is how it should look. It should be going underneath both of these lines, and they should be on the inside. Install these 3 grommets into the 3 locations on the bottom of the S&B airbox. Now you need to decide if you want to install the optional silicone box plug. For maximum airflow, you can leave it uninstalled, but if you live in dry, dusty, or hot conditions, I would leave it installed. So for the purpose of this video, we're going to leave it uninstalled. Now you're going to install the silicone tube seal and fender seal onto the airbox. Next, you're going to install the coupler and clamps onto the intake tube, and the orientation of the clamps is very important, so when you install it, you'll be able to reach it. To make it easier to install the new intake assembly, you're going to loosen this so you can move it out of the way. Now we're going to drop the airbox into the vehicle. You're going to want to make sure that these grommets line up, and then we loosen this so you can move it and give room for the inlet. Insert the CCV insert into the barb fitting on the intake tube and make sure you push it all the way down. Now you're going to install the intake tube into the vehicle. So you're just going to go in through the airbox, and then you will snake it down and rotate onto the throttle body. Next, you're going to reinstall the PCV line onto the intake tube and secure the clamp down. Secure the bracket to the intake tube using the provided hardware. Next, you're going to install the air filter into the airbox, and then you're going to line up the intake tube. Tighten both hose clamps on the coupler. The bottom one on the throttle body, and then the one securing the coupler to the intake tube. Remove the protective layer from both sides of the clear lid and then install the snap-in lid seal, and then you can install it onto the airbox. Remove the mass airflow sensor from the stock airbox. You're going to install the MAF grommet, MAF pad, and mass airflow sensor into the S&B intake tube, and then secure it down using the provided hardware. Now you just have to reconnect the mass airflow sensor harness, and then it's time to install the intake on the other side. Loosen this hose clamp, securing the intake tube to the bottom intake tube. All right, next we're going to disconnect the harness by pushing down and pulling up, and then remove here by pushing down and pulling out. Now that everything is loosened and disconnected, you can remove the stock airbox from the vehicle. Next, we're going to remove this line. Typically, you would move this clamp back so you could remove it. I moved it forward, and you should be able to pull off the line, and then we can reinstall the clamp. Loosen this hose clamp so you can remove the intake tube from the vehicle. Next, you're going to remove this screw, but set it aside because you will reuse it later. Now you can remove this part of the intake tube from the vehicle. Now you're going to assemble the airbox just like you did on the other side. You'll do the grommets on the bottom, tube seal, fender seal, box plug if you want it. The one difference is this one is going to have a bracket that supports the grommet. And just like the driver's side, you're going to line up these grommets with the 3 pins at the bottom of the vehicle. Insert the CCV insert into the barb fitting on the intake tube and make sure you push it all the way down. So install the coupler and clamps onto the intake tube, and then you're going to install it about halfway into the vehicle, and then we're going to install the bracket. So this is the orientation that you're going to want to install the bracket. Once you have it loosely installed, you can then go tighten down the provided hardware. So now that the bracket is installed in the correct orientation, we're going to lift the box in the tube to make it easier to direct the tube down to the throttle body. Now that you have everything lined up, you're going to drop in the air filter, install it onto the intake tube, and then you'll go back in and tighten it all up. Now you need to reconnect the PCV valve back to the intake tube. It is a little bit hard to see, but you'll just reach your hand down here. You should be able to push it straight on and then secure it with the clip. Now you're going to reinstall the screw that you removed earlier to the bottom of the bracket that you previously installed on the intake tube. Now you're going to go back and tighten down the hose clamps on the coupler attached to the throttle body. Remove the protective layer from both sides of the lid, and then you'll install the lid seal and snap it into the airbox. Uninstall the mass airflow sensor from the stock airbox. Install the MAF gasket, pad, and mass airflow sensor into the S&B intake tube and tighten it down using the provided hardware. Now just clip in the mass airflow sensor harness. You're going to reinstall the engine cover, and you're done. All right, guys, so that is the install for the 2022 and up Toyota Tundra. I hope this video helped, but if you have any questions, just give us a call or you can check it out on our website, and I'll see you next time.